Hello. I thought I would just make another video discussing a topic that could be of interest. So today's video is about answering or attempting to investigate the question: is there a limit to suffering? Uh, so why do I don't know? Sometimes I make these videos just because I think I have thoughts on the subject, and these are questions that have kind of pestered me for. I mean, honestly, this question maybe I've been mulling over for 15 years, 16 years. Some reason it's plagued me, and I've come to some realizations, and I think maybe some of them will help to hear or ponder for other people, because lots of people experience hardship, suffering, and um, if you're in a state of suffering now, or you're going through a tough, very tough time, could be due to an event, or could be due to internal disturbance or lack of harmony, or um, it could be just due to um, a real wide range of things. Honestly, people can suffer almost anything, and you might be wondering to yourself, and I think it's a worthwhile thing to wonder, even for a brief amount of time, whether it will end, or whether there's a limit to it. And also, if you are kind of the person who contemplates just the state of the world, and there's suffering going on in different parts of the world in different degrees, whether it's external maladies or hunger or starvation or fires or bombing or terrorism or whatnot, or again large widespread anxiety, fear, or people living in just really brutal conditions. Is there an end or a limit to suffering those things? And there's a distinction. So I'm not going to harp on about this. I mean, but there is a clear distinction about the thing itself. Like, oh, I broke my toe. That's a thing. There's pain and suffering. Um, for example, very simple. You can actually be happy while your toe is broken. It's not that you have to suffer the broken toe. So the suffering itself, though, is the main thing that makes you know an experience really unpleasant, and you can be contributing to your own suffering through your beliefs, through your biases, through your prejudices, through your perception of yourself, through your outlook on the world. That could be adding fuel to the fire. So lots of people go into great states of depression through that, actually, through their own, like they have some hardships, and then their own um, stuff adds to that, and then you start to go down a rabbit hole, and it's very difficult to come out of it. And then you may wonder also, is there a limit to the depths? And I think I've heard it be said before that there isn't. I don't know if you guys have ever, that I've heard some people in the world who claim to be smart, wise, say that there's no end to suffering. There's no depth to a limit to it. So, but I think one thing that I've come across as a realization in the way that the universe is designed is that um, there is actually a limit, but it's not quite in the way that we would like or to think of it. It's not a limit that you can necessarily enforce, and it's not a limit that is relative to your tolerance level. there is a saying, I think it's a biblical saying that says that God only gives you um, as much as you can handle. Um, However, I think in reality, people are pushed past their limit very often, and tend to sometimes not tend to, but sometimes people give up. They they think, this life is no longer worth continuing to. I don't see an end to this. This is where this is particularly useful, I think, though, to be aware that the universe has certain naturally created limits for anything. We are not actually limitless in our power and limitless in our experiences. The neural system, um, our cerebral system, all of our biological systems have limits actually, and it's a good thing that they have limits. There's a limit to the level of pain and pleasure, and also there's a limit across in terms of time intervals that a certain state can be maintained by your body and your mind. It's like at some point you reach a certain level where it shuts down or you have to move on. It doesn't matter how chemically imbalanced your system is or how deeply into whatever state you are in. There is a natural design, is what I've seen and experienced from my own life, that in whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, there is a limit to it and it does come to an end. And also in terms of just the depth of it, like while you can feel like it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, um, what happens over a very long period of time is that there's a natural reaction to any kind of um, state or occurrence or event, anything, like any kind of, there's, the thing swings, the pendulum ball swings this way, it has to swing back. It does happen, just over such a long period of time. Not many people, sometimes you can go so deep that you can't withstand it, but there is actually a limit to how deeply um, uh, a person can just suffer. That there is actually uh, a natural limit, and from what I've seen from my own experiences is that um, that if you were to try and even search for what that limit is, which I don't recommend, to try and um, create that really deep state of suffering and try and find out whether it's there is a natural wall that you reach that you can't surmount. Um, you'll find that the the mind, um, while you can divide it and weaken it and bring it to deep states of despair, it will naturally over time, you will it's you will lose control as you go deeper over how much you can actually create yourself, which is where actually a reverse thing happens, where because you lose control over your ability to create your own internal state regardless of what is happening. As you get deeper and deeper, you naturally relinquish more control. When the when the tray gets too hot, you have to at some point let go. It's inevitable. The limit is kind of self. It's like it's kind of inherently ingrained. There is a point after which you cannot carry the load anymore. You cannot hold the hot potato anymore. And as you relinquish control, you will find that, funnily enough, you're letting go of control. At least what I've seen, the letting go of control allows for other natural forces to work their way in and disrupt what could be a very, you know, stuck and blocked uh, state. So you could be in a deep state of despair for very long. As you go deeper and deeper into it, at some point you relinquish more and more control. If you go past a certain point, your letting go of that control will cause for, you know, your conscious mind and the way that it may have been contributing, or the way it may have been blocking your other systems, your deeper systems, to interfere. It will open that up. It does just kind of happen. And then, you know, it seems as though nature starts to then unravel, and things start unravel the long standing state of despair that you were in. Little gaps will open up, because it is just the way of things. They have a beginning and end, and um, you know, these loops that you may be creating, loop of anxiety, for example, that you may be so used to energetically. As you let go of your control, that gets to be released, and therefore space is created for something else to come in. And I'm not saying that that means like, oh, you know, you're going to just naturally overnight change, and you know, it comes to a point where you can just you know, everything will go away. But you'll see that you've reached a certain limit where then n- naturally and effortlessly your internal state will uh, start to um, change, and um, space, a sense of space or spaciousness, um, or acceptance, that's probably the right word, will just take hold within you, that will release some of the pressure that you would have been holding for God knows how long. So the, I think this is a very long winded way of saying that I think that from there is a limit to this thing, and you know, feel free to again challenge me or contest how I've seen things unravel, or how I believe the human condition kind of is designed. But I find this to be quite a reassuring um, and um, deeply um, relieving realization that there is a limit to the depths that the body and mind can sustain suffering, and there is a point after which, if you keep going, um, some deep thing inside you that was holding on to um, a part of that dynamic, that of the suffering, will start to just have to let go, and things do change, and so for anyone either contemplating intellectually, or in a kind of compassionately, or even in a self-reflecting kind of way, whether there is a limit, you know, without having to discover what that limit is for yourself. I think you will find that actually the there are these inherently ingrained limits, and so that means um, that in some way at some point things are designed to have to get better. It's my point of view, and from what I've seen, my experiences and my introspection and contemplation on this topic from many years. So yeah, that's what I want to just put out there. Let me know. Let me know how you feel about it. These are all just investigations, and I can't help but just I just kind of think about these things, and so I share them. But I'm in no way trying to say that I am, you know, that you have to agree with my understanding of or my view. This is just, but these are the things that I have learned, and how what I've seen to be true in my time. And yeah, so think for yourself, and if you want to share your thoughts, happy to just hear them out. We don't even have to engage in a discussion back and forth. You can have your view and I can have mine. We don't have to agree. We could also have a back and forth if you want. So there you go.